Hello, Edie here. I am really excited to welcome you to the Right Conversation today. I am going to be talking about organization for writers and really for anybody, but particularly for writers because I have come upon a system that actually works for me. Now, I am one of the least organized people that I know, or at least I used to be. And then about a year and a half ago, I started doing something called bullet journaling. And that's what this is. This is my bullet journaling system. I wanted to do a blog post and talk about bullet journaling because I've taught several classes about bullet journaling and they've been really well received. But when I started writing the blog post, I realized that I really needed to be able to show you what I was talking about. So today I am going to invite you into my bullet journal and talk about what's involved in it, how I set it up, and why it works for me. First of all, supplies. This is my favorite bullet journal right here, this brand, the Lecterm 1917. You can find these at a lot of different places. Barnes & Noble carries them. Amazon carries them. You can find them a lot of places. But basically, it's a hardback journal that has dots instead of lines. And the reason I love the dots so much is because I can use these dots to make different squares, different areas, categories. I'll show you what I can do, but it allows me to customize my weekly, daily, and monthly to-do list in such a way that makes sense to me and to my brain. So I think that the best way to explain it is just to jump right in. The other thing that I like to use is I love my Micron permanent pens. I love these, and they draw a great fine line. They're waterproof and archival quality, and they're just a great pen. So I love that, and I love my ruler. So those are pretty much my supplies. Okay, this is actually a traveler's notebook. It holds several notebooks all at once. And I got this as reward for doing my bullet journal all through 2017, starting in February. And I bought this from the Chic Sparrow, and the link to this and to all the other information that I'm going to be sharing is in the blog post below. So don't worry about taking notes. All the information should be there. So this is my system for organizing my life, and this is my bullet journal. Okay, the way this starts out is I start the year off with something called a future log. And the thought behind bullet journaling is that it keeps track of your present, it records the past so that you can go back and refer to it, and it helps you organize the future. So one of the ways it does this is with the index. So every time I put something new in this book back here, I index it here. So like for instance, if I want to go back and look at the notes that I made for the Blue Ridge Conference, I can look through here. I can see my Blue Ridge notes are on pages 85 through 92. I don't have to thumb through the whole book and try to remember where I was when I was taking the notes. They're already right here, and it's completely organized. So I really like having that. Then, after my indexing, which I keep up with throughout the year as I am working along, I have what I consider my future log, which is my year at a glance. Okay? I love my year at a glance because it helps me keep track of my travel commitments. So every time I agree to travel somewhere, I come over to this year at a glance calendar and I color in blue the dates that I'm going to be gone. This helps me not overlap, and I can just see with a quick look at how much I'm going to be gone when. You'll notice that I traveled a good bit this year. I didn't travel in April because I was getting ready for Blue Ridge, and I don't have anything travel-wise for November or December, although we may sneak in a short getaway for my husband and I. We haven't decided yet. So anyway, this is my year at a glance. But as wonderful as this isn't enough. I also want to know what these little colored in spaces are specifically for. So I have divided this up into 3 pages of months. Okay, so I have January, February, March, April, and all of the commitments, the travel commitments that I have here. I also have my specific commitments for articles or things that I do regularly. Like, for instance, I am a staff writer for Southern Writers Magazine. I'm the social media director, so I write a column for every issue. But their issues don't come out every month. It's every other month, and actually it's 5 times a year. And so what I do is when I get my dates for the upcoming year is I go in and I plug them in on the months, and that way I know where and when things are due. So that's the way I set up my future log, and that's kind of the big picture for me. And you'll notice here, this is why these little dots are so great. I don't have to take a regular, an already laid out planner and try to fit what I want into little bitty squares or whatever. I can design what works best for me. So that's what I've got here. Okay. Then I go to my months at a glance, and I begin each month with my gratitude journal. I have discovered that I am not a very thankful person. I tend to dwell on the negative way more than the positive, and so to combat that, I'm trying to be more deliberate about being thankful. Hence the gratitude journal at the beginning of every month. So I go through and I lay out my gratitude journal. Then I am a very busy person, and I have a lot to keep track of. And so what I have is I have my month at a glance, but I have 4 pages of month at a glance. So I have 4 pages of monthly spreads. This is the one for the Right Conversation. These are the editorial commitments I had in January. This is when I was writing something in the day it was due. This is my client appointments. So I meet with clients regularly, and this is all of their appointment times. And then I have personal appointments, like when we had to go get the car fixed and different things like that. So I have all of that. And then I go into what I call my weekly spreads. Now, you're looking at a really polished, for me, bullet journal. But my first try at this was not this polished. This is my bullet journal when I first started out. Okay, I'm going to show you how messy I was. Now, I did know I needed all these individual ones, but I didn't know about a week at a glance or a weekly spread. And so what I would do is I would just put the date at the top of the page, and then I would do a list of things that I needed. And then I would either check them off, or I would move them to a different day, whatever I wanted to do. And so I would work along that way. But it still left me feeling out of control and like I was playing catch up. So that was not working for me, but I was still trying. I really liked the monthly stuff because I could see it all in one place. But this daily stuff was kind of driving me nuts. And so I was talking to a friend of mine who does bullet journaling. Her name is Lynn Blackburn. She writes for us here on The Right Conversation. And Lynn said, you need a weekly spread. And I said, great, what's a weekly spread? And so she showed me her bullet journal, which looked amazing. And she had all of these different weeks, and it was basically a week at a glance. And that way, she said she could organize her whole week. Well, let me tell you, this is life-changing stuff here. This was made for me because I can still personalize it. I can do it any way I want. I have plenty of room to write, but I can see it all and plan it 1 week at a time. So what I did in 2017 is I took time to play with this system. I gave myself permission to be messy. I gave myself permission to make mistakes and to try things out. Like, here we go. I totally screwed up on that. I was numbering, here was the 19th, and I went straight to the 22nd. I don't know what I was going to do with the 20th and the 21st, but I got out of order. So I just went, oops, and moved on. So I gave myself permission to figure out what I liked, what worked for me, what didn't, and then I rewarded myself with this new setup, the Traveler's Notebook, and began playing with weekly spreads. So this is my January. This is the first week in January. I found that I really like to have a calendar here so I know where I am in the month without having to flip back to one of these days, and I can put things day by day. I also found that I like room to doodle, and I love to have either a Bible verse or a quote that inspires me and that I can think about for that particular week. That's something I have really come to enjoy. And since this was January, I had chosen my one word. My word of the year was remembrance. And so I think that's really cool because this calendar has helped me do that. It's helped me remember what I have on my plate, and it's helped me remember to be grateful, and it's helped me remember to stay focused on God. So it's been a really great thing. As I go through my weeks, what I do is at the beginning of the month, I'll show you for September, I first of all set up my gratitude journal. This is going to be my gratitude for September. Then I lay out my monthly spreads. I have 4 of them here. These will become the right conversation, editorial commitments, client meetings, and personal. And then I can start my weekly spreads. But one of the things that's nice about this is I only do 1 week at a time. Like here in January, now I have Mountainside Marketing. So instead of doing another week right after this one, I said, oh, I need to get organized for Mountainside. So I took a couple of pages and was able to make notes. Then I got right back to the weekly spread for the next week. Okay, same thing here. And then when a week overlaps, I will choose one or the other, usually whatever month it starts in. I will finish up the other month at the end. So I did this here. I have January on this page and February on this page. So again, I set up my gratitude journal. Toward the end of January, I sat down, I set up my gratitude journal, I set up my monthly spreads, and then I set up my first week in February, my first full week. Now, one of the things that I do is on Sunday evening, sometimes on Saturday if I'm really busy. I know I'm going to be busy on Sunday if we're going to the mountains to take pictures or something. I will set it up on Saturday. But I will go ahead and set up the next week on Sunday. And then each night I will go through and I will check off the things that I did today and said, yes, I did this one. No, that one didn't need to be done. I'm going to move this one and do it on Thursday or whatever. And I lay out my day for the next day. Okay, so I make my list of things that I know have to happen for tomorrow. And one of the beauties of doing this is that it takes a load off of my mind because I don't have to remember because it's already written down. And so I already have it written down, so that means, number one, I sleep better at night. And number two, when I get up in the morning, my first response is not to pick up my phone and check email or check my calendar and try to decide what I have to do for the day because I know it's already laid out and I already thought it through the night before. so I can wake up leisurely, I can have my quiet time, my prayer time with my husband, cup of coffee, and know where I am without being constantly playing catch up. So that for me is the beauty of this bullet journal. So we're into February now, and you'll notice I got smart. I began highlighting the week that we were on because, I don't know, it just helps me to see that. And so here's my Asheville Christian Writers Conference notes, packing list, all of that. Now we're back to regular days, and February ends on a Wednesday, and so here's March over here, starting here. And then here's my gratitude journal for March. Now, this is really funny because I was laying this out and everything, and I messed up. I drew this line right here, and it should have started right there. And so what I did, instead of Xing it out or anything, what I'm trying to learn to do is to give myself permission to make mistakes and to learn from them or actually turn them into something good. So what I did is I took that mistake and I turned it into a flower. So I am not an artistic person. I've never thought of myself as an artistic person, but I'm having a lot of fun playing with all of this. So here we are, March editorial, clients, personal, and we're on into March's weekly spreads. And then I had to stop and make notes for the Carolina Christian Writers Conference. And then I had a week at home, and then I was leaving for Florida and coming home and turning right around and leaving for Colorado. So that was craziness. So I had all of that organized here, and I had room for it. I didn't have to insert a page or try to make something that was ready-made to work. I was able to just fit it into my schedule and do it like I wanted to. So here we are in March. Then in April, I discovered this really cool layout on the internet, and I decided that I wanted this for my gratitude journal. And so I laid it all out, I worked out all the numbers and everything, and I had such fun doing it because I love to be creative as long as you give me a dotted line to follow. So I like to say I'm creative with a ruler and a pencil. So I laid all of this out, and this is what I'm using now for my gratitude journal, and I really love it. I will tell you that there are pictures of this blank gratitude layout on my Instagram, which is at stop to play, Play, like playtime. I have two Instagram accounts. My photography one is stop to pray, and the one I use for bullet journaling is stop to play. But I put a picture of this spread out, and it's clear enough that you can actually enlarge it and count the dots and do your own. But I'm going to publish some specific directions and let you know how many squares and which one. So anyway, I will do that at a later date. So this was April. And again, I have my 4 monthly layouts and then my days. And it was so nice. I was home all month. Here's May. And then in May, I actually began to get a little creative. I began to add some drawings and just play around with some different layouts. This was a fun one, and I tried to reproduce it here. And sometimes you can see these lines on the other page, and I got off by one because this page is this page, not this page. And so my lines were off. And so what I did is I just made double lines for the month. And so again, I took a mistake and made it work. One thing I will tell you is this is too narrow for me to write in. I really need a wider space to write in. But it was still fun to watch how I could make something that wasn't working into something that did work. And you'll notice that I'm beginning to get a little more creative. I am beginning to use washi tape. Here's some of my current favorites right here. And stickers and things like that. And I'm playing with some color. here's the Blue Ridge Notes, Blue Ridge Notes, Blue Ridge Notes, Blue Ridge Notes. Yes, that was a lot of notes. And then one more day in May, and I survived it. I made it to June. Here's my June gratitude calendar. And you'll notice I'm beginning to decorate even more. I'm getting a little more comfortable with that. I have never thought of myself as an artistic person, but I'm trying to stretch and remember what it's like to color and play and just enjoy some time. And so that's what I'm doing here. And I find that when I decorate the pages like this, I love to go back to them. And so it makes me want to check my calendar and figure out what I need to do when, because it keeps pulling me back. And then in June, so far, this is my absolute favorite weekly spread. What I try to do is I try to use a weekly spread for a month at a time so that I can see if I really like it or not, and this is by far my favorite. I really enjoyed doing this one in June. And you'll notice some of these are hand-drawn, just little doodles. Some of them are stickers. So I don't mind combining the two. If I like it, if it makes me smile, I'm going to use it. Like, I love this sticker, Trust the Mess. That is so my life. Trust me. So here we are, Kentucky Christian Writers Conference and the packing list. And back into June, I was trying to draw a dandelion. I think that's not too bad for my first attempt, but I had fun with it. Then I'm into July with my gratitude journal. And more of July. In July, I made a mistake. I was doing a layout, and there are some lines behind this, and they're in the wrong place. And I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to make it a doodle page. So that's what I did. At the time, I was trying to focus on what I was putting into my mind. So I doodled something for Philippians 4:8. And then I also doodled talking about how important love is. So that I just turned this into a page where I played. Then this is the very center of my book. As most of you know, I am a photographer and I love to take pictures of the moon. And I was having trouble trying to figure out when the full moon was going to be, so I did a moon phases calendar for the whole year. So the empty circles are the full moon and the dark circles are the new moon. But this way I can see at a glance when I need to schedule a trip to take pictures of the moon. And here we are in July, and I decided to go with a theme this month in July, and I decided to do steampunk. So I began with my hot air balloons and my dirigibles, and I played with more washi tape. And then I had to make a realm makers list and a realm maker schedule and more realm makers. And then we're back to July and more steampunk. And we're into August. That's this month. I'm still working on this month's gratitude. And you'll see I still have 2 more days to fill out. And then again, I began decorating here. Some of these, I just really liked playing with them. And then I do like my layout in August. I do like this weekly spread. It is not my very most favorite, but it's my second favorite. So this is what I was doing in August. These are some notes that I needed to do. More August. I found some typewriters, stickers. How cool is that? And an ink pot. Such fun. And so this is more of August. And then this is this particular week in August, the last week in August, and we come to September. And September, I have done something new. I'm stretching and growing a little bit more. I saw on Pinterest that a lot of people do what's called a cover for the month. And that is where you take a page and you draw or doodle a picture that represents the month. So September is what I decided I'd try this on. So I was very happy with the way it turned out. This S is hand-drawn These are hand drawn, and everything else on there is either washi tape or stickers. And so I thought that was a really fun way to do that. I used some colored pencils and some gelatos and added like a wash of color and just had a lot of fun with it. Artistically, it's probably not top drawer, but it makes me smile and it makes me happy. So I was glad to get to play with it. And then since we're at the end of the month, I have begun laying out my stuff for next month. This will be my gratitude calendar. And you'll notice that I messed up right here. I drew the line I shouldn't have, so I'll have to go back and put a sticker over it, or maybe I'll draw a flower there or something. But I'm trying to learn to accept my mistakes and move on and not try to throw everything out. So here are my monthly spreads. This will be my blogging, editorial commitments. This will be my client meetings, and then personal, and then I will start my weekly spreads here. So this is my brain, I like to call it. This is my bullet journal. I absolutely love playing with this. I love everything about it. It helps me stay organized, and it brings me lots of joy. I hope you will leave your comments and your questions in the comment section below. There's a lot of notes in this blog post, but it is not a transcript of what I am speaking here. It is just ideas for ways that you can use your bullet journal, and then there's a whole list of references and places to buy bullet journals, the types of pens. I included Instagram accounts of great bullet journalers, as well as websites of some of the bullet journalers that I follow. If you're on Pinterest, you can go and look up Edie Melson, and you can look at my board on bullet journaling. I think it has like 1,000 pins or something. But this is how I learned to bullet journal, was just by looking at what other people were doing and through the help of my good friend Lynn Blackburn. So I hope to do more of these, but I would like to know if you enjoyed this. So leave your comments below.